Good morning and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Clinton Griffiths. Routine animal mortality is a common occurrence for every livestock producer. If you own livestock, more than likely it's going to happen. And what you do with those animals when that happens is always a good topic of conversation. And help us walk through some of that is Josh Payne. Josh, good morning.
Good morning.
You're an area animal waste management specialist here at Oklahoma State University. Why is proper carcass disposal really important for our producers?
Well, I think this falls under the whole umbrella of sustainable agriculture. And whether you are a large farming operation or a smaller producer, sustainable agriculture is one thing you need to consider. And proper carcass disposal is one of those key components. If you improperly dispose of those carcasses, there could be potential risk to ground and surface water contamination.
Are there any options that you have seen are a good way to do that? I mean, there are several options that are legal.
Certainly, there's several options in our state that are legal, but one that we have kind of singled out that we think is a practical and economical option that also works real well is actually composting livestock, or as I like to call it, above ground burial.
Okay, and it is something that you've seen as sustainable. You recently held a composting field day with a group over at Langston who is using some of your research to do some similar things with goats and sheep there at their facility. We stopped by there and saw what they were doing. Why don't we take a look and then come back and talk to you a little bit more about your research?
Sure.
They say if you own livestock, more than likely you're going to have to deal with dead stock. It's just a fact of life that these animals pass away from time to time. So the question becomes, what do you do with them and how do you dispose of them legally and correctly? Well, to help us through some of those questions is Roger Merkel. Roger, hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
One thing that you're working on here is small stock mortality composting. Tell us about that concept.
Well, that's correct. As we know, all livestock producers do experience mortality, and there are lawful means of disposal in the state of Oklahoma. The 5 lawful means include burial, incineration, landfills, rendering, and composting. For sheep and goats, there is no rendering company in the state that will take your mortality, so rendering is really not an option. Landfills, you have to pay a fee if you want to dispose animals at a landfill. If you want to incinerate an animal, incineration does not mean having an open bonfire.
You can't just do it on your own property on your own time. It's
that's
not legal.
correct. Unless you own an incinerator, you purchase an enclosed incinerator, so you'd have that cost plus the cost of the fuel.
Right.
If you want to bury your animals, that is lawful. There are rules on burial. You have to bury them at least 1 foot above any floodplain, 2 foot above any water table or bedrock, not within 300 feet of any stream, pond, river, any waters of the state of Oklahoma, neighbors, property lines, or public areas. So
there's a lot of rules to follow if you're doing that.
Exactly. So composting is a viable alternative, particularly for producers who may not own large numbers of livestock and do not experience large numbers of mortality. Now, mortality composting has commonly been done in the poultry and swine industries for a number of years. The dairy cattle industry is starting to use it, and we have done a demonstration project here at Langston University in conjunction with Oklahoma State University on mortality composting of small stock, particularly sheep and goats.
Okay, well, you're going to give us a demonstration today, I guess.
That's correct.
All right, well, why don't we get started and give people an idea of how to get this done in their own place.
All right.
All right, Roger, so we got this put down. What exactly is this?
Well, this is our base layer. We want to have about an 18-inch absorbent base layer. The base layer is important because it traps any liquid or exudate or any leachate that comes out of the carcass as it's decomposing.
Okay.
What we want to prevent is any of that liquid then from getting into the ground, into the soil.
Okay.
So this is very important to catch all those liquids. And what we're going to do here is we're going to try to spread this out and make sure we have enough, about 18 inches, and then we'll be able to bring our mortality then and lay that on top.
Okay, this looks a lot like sawdust.
Well, it is. This is material that came from fairgrounds after a fair. So this is bedding material.
Okay.
Mixed with manure. Could be horse manure, could be from the beef barn. I really don't know exactly which barn, but this is very good type of material to use for mortality composting.
Okay.
You want to make sure you have enough carbon source. For people who backyard compost, they generally try to have a carbon to nitrogen ratio in your pile of about 30 to 1.
Okay.
And obviously mortalities have quite a bit of nitrogen with all the muscle and other tissues that they have. So we need a good carbon source in order to compost those correctly.
Okay, what about our pin here? What we're putting it in, or what's holding it?
This is just a low-cost alternative to building some type of more permanent type of structure. We are using just some old pallets and T-posts just to kind of help give our pile not only some shape, but also to help prevent any stray dogs or coyotes or something from getting into it and disturbing the pile. And that's one of the main reasons why you want to have something surrounding your pile.
Sure. And it looks like you have a lot of different options that you've done here, examples and that kind of thing.
That's
a lot of
correct.
different ways that people could do it.
That's correct. If you are a large operation and you wanted to build some type of permanent structure, concrete base, having a roof, concrete walls, for example, that would be ideal, because that allows you then to control the conditions, control the moisture content of your pile a bit better. If you only have a few animals, you're not going to want to spend that type of money. Using old pallets, using a couple of stock panels wired together to form a circle, any type of old fencing you would have would be fine.
Would be fine.
Again, you just want to help maintain the integrity of your pile and prevent any type of stray animals from getting in and disturbing it.
Okay, so I guess we'll finish getting this spread out and then see what's next.
That's correct.